The story of Endymion. This youth, whose name is so famous, has a very short history. Some of the poets say he was a king, some a hunter, but most of them says he was a shepherd, and all agree that he was a youth of surpassing beauty and that this was the cause of his singular faith. Endymion the shepherd, as his flock he guarded, she the moon Selene saw him, loved him, sought him, coming down from heaven to the glade on Latmus, kissed him, lay beside him, blessed is his fortune, evermore he slumbers, tossing not nor turning. Endymion the shepherd. He never woke to see the shining silvery from bending over. In all the stories about him, he sleeps forever, immortal but never conscious. Wondrously beautiful he lies on the mountainside, motionless and remote as if in death, but warm and living. And night after night, the moon visits him and covers him with her kisses. It is said that this magic slumber was her doing. She lulled him to sleep so that she might always find him and caressed him as she pleased. But it is said too that her passion brings her only a burden of froth with many sighs. So that was the story of Endymion and Selene the moon goddess. And now let us talk about the story of Daphne. So Daphne was another of those independent, love and marriage hating young huntresses who are met with so often in the mythological stories. She is said to have been Apollo's first love. It is not strange that she fled from him. One unfortunate maiden after another, beloved of the gods, had to kill her child secretly or be killed herself. The best such a one could expect was exile, and many women who thought that worse than death. The ocean nymph who visited Prometheus on the crag in Caucasus spoke only the most ordinary common sense when they said to him, "May you never, oh never behold me, sharing the couch of a god. May none of the dwellers in heaven draw near to me ever. Such love as the high gods know, from whose eyes none can hide, may that never be mine. To war with a god lover is not war, it is despair." Daphne would have agreed completely, but indeed, she did not want any mortal lovers either. So her father, the river god Peneus, was greatly tried because she refused all the handsome and eligible young men who wooed her. He would scold her gently and lament, "Am I never to have a grandson?" But when she threw her arms around him and coaxed him, "Father, dearest, let me be like Diana," he would yield and she would be off to the deep woods blissful in her freedom. But at last, Apollo saw her and everything ended for her. She was hunting, her dress shortly to the knee, her arms bare, her hair in wild disarray. But nevertheless, she was enchantingly beautiful. Apollo thought, what would she not look like properly dressed and with her hair nicely arranged? So this idea made the fire that was devouring his heart blaze up even more fiercely, and he started off in pursuit. Daphne fled, and she was an excellent runner. Even Apollo for a few minutes was hard to put to it to overtake her. Still, of course, he soon gained. As he ran, he sent his voice ahead of him, entreating her, persuading her, reassuring her, do not fear. Stop and find out who I am. No rude rustic or shepherd. I am the Lord of Delphi, and I love you. But Daphne flew on, even more frightened than before. If Apollo was indeed following her, the case was hopeless. But she was determined to struggle to the very end. It had all but come. She felt his breath upon her neck. But there in front of her, the trees opened and she saw her father's river. She screamed to him, help me, father, help me. At the words, a drugging numbness came upon her feet, seemed rooted in the earth. She had been so swiftly speeding over, bark was enclosing her, leaves were sprouting. She had been changed into a tree, a laurel. Apollo watched the transformation with dismay and grief. O fairest of maidens, you are lost to me. He mourned, but at least you shall be my tree. With your limbs, my victors shall rest their brows. You shall have your part in all my triumphs. Apollo and his laurel shall be joined together wherever songs are sung and stories told. The beautiful shining leaf tree seemed to nod its waving head as if in happy consent. And that was the story of Daphne. And now, let us talk about the story of Alpheus and Arethusa. Once upon a time, in Ortygia, an island which formed part of Syracuse, the greatest city of Sicily, there is a sacred spring called Arethusa. Once, however, Arethusa was not water or even a water nymph, but a fair young huntress and a follower of Artemis. Like her mistress, she would have nothing to do with men. Like her, she loved hunting and the freedom of the forest. But then one day, tired and hot from the chase, she came upon a crystal clear river deeply shaded by silvery willows. No more delightful place for a bath could be imagined. Arethusa undressed and slipped into the cool, delicious water. For a while, she swam idly to and fro in water in utter peace. Then she seemed to feel something stir in the depths beneath her. She sprang to the bank, and as she did so, she heard a voice. Why such haste, fairest maiden? Without looking back, She fled away from the stream to the woods and ran with all the speed her fear gave her. She was hotly pursued and by one stronger, if not swifter than she. The unknown called to her to stop. He told her he was the god of the river, Alpheus, and that he was following her only because he loved her. But she wanted none of him. She had but one thought, and that is to escape. It was a long race, but the issue was never in doubt. He could keep on running longer than she, worn out at last. Arethusa called to her goddess, and not in vain, Artemis changed her into a spring of water and cleft the earth so that a tunnel was made under the sea from Greece to Sicily. Arethusa plunged down and emerged in Ortygia, where the place in which her spring bubbles up is holy ground, sacred to Artemis. But it is said that even so, she was not free of Alpheus. The story is that the god changing back into a river followed her through the tunnel and that now his water mingles with hers in the fountain. They say that often Greek flowers are seen coming up from the bottom and that if a wooden cup is thrown into the Alpheus in Greece, it will reappear in Arethusa's well in Sicily. Alpheus makes his way far under the deep with his waters, travels to Arethusa with bridal gifts, fair leaves and flowers. The teacher of strange way is love, that knavish boy, maker of mischief. With his magical spell, he thought a river to dive. And that was the story of Alpheus and